A happy feast of the Holy Family. I pray for all our families and also for the sisters of the Holy Family in Fremont that I help with occasionally. And today, as we celebrate the Holy Family and look up to them for our spiritual edification, let's try to together unpack what Christmas holds in itself for us, for the Holy Family, and thereby for all of us. Soon after the September 11, Queen Elizabeth offered her condolences to us, the citizens of the United States. And one line struck a chord with me. After saying what she said, she stated, "Grief is the price we pay for love." She could not have been more correct. Grief, indeed, is the price that we pay for love. Ask anyone who is in a relationship, who has been in a relationship. Ask any parent who tries to accompany their daughter or son along life's journey. Grief is the price we pay for love. I wonder what the Blessed Mother thought when she heard that she was to conceive a child in her womb without the cooperation of Joseph. No wonder she was perplexed. She was confused. She was anxious. Probably she spent sleepless nights and woke up with nightmares, dreaming of being stoned to death. But she knew that grief is the price we pay for love. And she paid that. Not just once, time and again. As they go on their way to Bethlehem, she realizes Joseph didn't book a restaurant or a hotel. And they are in a stable, trying to give birth to their firstborn son, who's supposed to be God from God, light from light. And there, in that impoverished condition, surrounded by animals, in a place where you store fodder for animals, she would deliver her baby boy. And she would know in that moment that grief is a price one pays for love. And even as they were celebrating the birth of their son and showing off the child to the shepherds and to the wise men, Joseph gets a dream, which actually is a nightmare for the family. Herod is after the child. Take the child and flee to Egypt. And so there they are, running away, even as they are trying to cherish life, promote life, and preserve life. And in the process, they become homeless. And in a foreign land, they become refugees. And they know in their heart that grief is the price one pays for love. 40 days later, they go to the temple to present him to the Lord. And there, as Anna and Simeon sing the praises of God and introduce the child as the cause for the rise of many and the downfall of others, she also drives a dagger into the mother's heart, as he says, "A sword will pierce your own soul too." And she wonders why grief is the price one should pay for love. A few days later, Joseph is on his deathbed. And there is boy Jesus 14 or 16, dressed in a long tunic, as the artist Francis Goya would capture. And there is a mother sitting by his side, anxiety written all over the face. And it must have been a happy death for Joseph to be surrounded by the mother and the son, who is God. But it was not a happy death for the mother and for the son. And they would know in that moment that grief is a price one pays for love. Let's leave the family as they are and take a look at Joseph for a moment. See how his life begins and takes a turn for the worse, not for the better. He is engaged, betrothed, and he goes around celebrating, and then word comes to his ears that his betrothed is with child, and he is not the father. And he is torn. Do I go the righteous way? Go to the rabbi, call for the townsmen, and expose this woman who is found to be adulterous? Or do I go the way of compassionate mercy, of forgiving mercy? And in that moment, Joseph would know that grief is the price one pays for love. My dear sisters and brothers, today we celebrate the Holy Family. Not to frustrate ourselves, not to put them up on a pedestal. It is God's way of saying that every family can be like the Holy Family, because the Holy Family has been like every family. I come from a family which has its own problems, its own blessings. One of my brothers is divorced and he doesn't go to church. He's a fine young man. He would give off his shirt off his back to anyone in need. I have another brother who was alcoholic and he caused untold trouble to my parents. Tell me, which of us doesn't come from a family that is not dysfunctional? In fact, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, all families are dysfunctional by definition. It's only the degree that varies, and that oscillates from time to time. Think of this family that faced the challenge of a marriage out of wedlock. Do I preserve life? Do I promote life? Or do I cherish life? Or do I nib it in the bud? Pro-life. There you find it. And there is a Holy Family as the model telling us, we were there just like you. We faced this challenge, but then heart within and God overhead, we overcame it and we are happy for it. Promote life, they say. And very soon, Joseph would lose his job. He finds himself in between jobs, like many of us, financial situation. And he doesn't give up because he knows that grief is a price one pays for love. And very soon, they would be homeless, fleeing, leaving behind everything. Just like us. And they would go on to become refugees in a foreign land, Egypt. And then they would come back again as immigrants. Then finally they come back to Israel. And look at the son as he grows up. Poor, no place to lay his head. Abject poverty, an impoverished person. He owns it all and possesses nothing. That's the definition of God as I would see it. And then as he grows up, the poor guy is incarcerated, innocent victim. And he is condemned to die. Life sentence. death sentence. Don't we find all these problems in our own families? How many of us aren't mourning our spouses, our parents, our children, our significant others? Joseph, or as he passes away, is mourned by the mother and the son. To conclude, we are still through the pandemic days, maybe coming out of the woods, slowly but surely. And that is where Joseph becomes a patron for us, a guardian for us, a model for us. He lived his life in a sort of a quarantine, an isolation, a silence, completely hidden. And that is a life we seem to be called to live these days. Sisters and brothers, anyone and everyone that we come across is fighting his own battle, her own battle. If only we can be understanding and supportive and not be divided as Catholics and non-Catholics, Christians and non-Christians, believers and atheists, Republicans and Democrats, blacks and whites or browns and yellows, the rich or the poor, the insider, the outsider. We are all in the same boat. The Holy Family found itself in the same boat. But they have reached a shore. They have arrived safely. And the good news is today is that you and I are in the same boat as the Holy Family found themselves in. And we can arrive safely. We can reach our destination, God, if only we continue relentlessly, heart within and God overhead, not giving up, not losing faith, but always being hopeful. When Christ is in the boat of your life, you can weather any storm. Smooth sail or shipwreck depends on whether you live with hope and faith and love. And the Holy Family did just that. And that is why I believe that the Holy Family continues to be a model for each of our families. They knew that grief is a price that we pay for love. And if you find yourself paying grief as a price for the love that you bear in your heart, be grateful. There is hope, for God is with you. Happy Feast of the Holy Family.